Happy, beautiful day. It is Pete Cohen. It is episode 2 of the Pete Cohen podcast. And this is the Inspiration Revolution. Join me after the jingle. The big question is, how are some people in the world today creating the results they want with their health, wealth, and happiness? What exactly are these people doing? This podcast will give you the answers and inspire you to live the life that you want today. Happy, beautiful day. It's Pete Cohen here. Welcome. It's episode 2 of Pete Cohen's podcast. And today's podcast is called The Inspiration Revolution. In fact, The Inspiration Revolution is kind of the tagline of this podcast. And we're about to do something truly amazing. And when I say we're about to do something truly amazing, I believe we already have. And the reason I say that is, look, if you look at anything that exists in the world today, it has existed twice. First in the mind of someone who came up with an idea, and then in actuality. So everything that has been created really has been created twice. And in my mind, I've already created what it is that we're doing with the Pete Cohen podcast and the Inspiration Revolution, and what I see happening as a consequence of what we're going to do. And that's part of what inspiration is all about. When you're inspired about something, basically it means that you're breathing life into something. Something that as we continue to work together, you'll hear me mention this word, etymology. Actually, I'm going to ask Siri what the word etymology means. Hey, Siri. What does the word... Actually, Siri is in airplane mode. So, he can't do anything. He needs to be inspired. He needs to be breathed life into, and he has to have Wi-Fi or 4G. Hey, Siri. Hey, Siri. What does...
Yes.
Okay, calm down. What does the word etymology mean?
Okay. I found this on the web for Play Calm Down. What does the word etymology mean? Check it out.
What does the word etymology mean?
Etymology means the study of the origin of words and the way in which their meanings have changed throughout history.
Truly fascinating. The study of the origin of words and the way in which their meanings have changed throughout history. And I absolutely love words and where words have come from, and it's something we'll be talking about as we go on this epic journey together, as we discover things, because to be inspired really means to breathe life. The etymology of the word, it means to breathe life. In fact, it also means God within, to be God-like. And I'm not here to talk about religion or politics. I'm not going to touch on those things. Well, they might pop into the conversation from time to time. But for me, the word to be inspired just simply means that you're breathing life into something, blowing a life into something. And this is my big challenge to anyone that wants to get involved in what we're about to do or what we're doing. Why I'm telling you this is because I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out to come on the journey. There is so much information in the world today. In 1972, the man who won the Nobel Prize basically said the biggest problem in the world today was there's too much information. And that was 1972. We're now in 2019. On the day I'm recording this podcast, actually, yesterday England lost to the United States of America and the England women's football team. And today England right now are playing New Zealand in that wonderful game of cricket. And they were talking in the commentary about the cricket, about the podcast. They'd said the podcast would be available for what you've heard today. Plus there'd be a podcast with 2 other people. Plus there'd be another podcast. And then I was just kind of thinking, wow, that's a lot of podcasts. You could be listening to all of this for 24 hours a day. It must be really hard for people to know where to put their attention. And I'm asking you, if you want to create an amazing life, which I believe everyone does, whether they do or not, whether if you've got goals and dreams and ambitions, which I believe that you have, then I encourage you to come on this journey. And I will be calling you out. I'll be asking you to do things because I'm obsessed with inspiring people. I mean, that's just what my life is about, helping someone go from where they are to where they want to be. So where are you and where do you want to go? These are big questions, but wouldn't it be amazing to have some form of clarity around that? And by the way, today's show is brought to you by Inspirators, which is my brand new book, which came out recently. Inspirators, go to inspirators.me, go and get your hands on that book. Make a small investment in becoming an inspirator. Make a small investment into becoming someone who is inspired about who you are and where you're going. And let's face it, not many people are. Most of us, if we are inspired, we're just inspired to move away from something. Very few people, I reckon about 2% of people in the world really know where they're going, and they're going to, I don't just mean going, but this year or going on holiday or this weekend. I'm talking about know where they're going with their life. They know the life that they want to lead. And, my goal is to expand that 2%. I want it to be 3%, 4%, I don't know, 50% of people around the world. Where does that 2% come from? I mentioned this in the last podcast. I've written many books, but the books I've written have been based on my experience of working with people and often reading books. Read so many books. And one of them, the best, is definitely, yes, if you've been listening to podcasts with me in the past or you've heard me speak, you've probably heard me mention Think and Grow Rich, written by Mr. Napoleon Hill. In fact, I mentioned this to a colleague of mine the other day, and he, like many people, actually doesn't like the title, feels uncomfortable about richness, which is absolutely fascinating. And we will definitely be working on helping people change their opinion, change their circumstances with money. It's not that money makes the world go round. I think money is something that most of us don't have that much of because of the relationship that we have with it. So to be inspired and help anyone that's listening to this to be inspired about their health, their wealth, their happiness, their relationships, that is what this is all about. And my goal, just going back to what I was talking about right in the beginning, I haven't forgotten, what I see out of what we're doing, and if you want to get involved in this, tell us. I see right now in my mind's eye hundreds of thousands, millions of people being inspired. You know why? Because you are. You see, I know that if someone is inspired, they have the secret sauce. They have the energy to inspire someone else around them. Wouldn't that be cool? To have people that basically saying, you know what, I'm inspired about. I'm inspired to do. And this is what I would love to know. I would love to know. You can email us. You can email us at info@my365.me. That's info@my365.me. That's mi365.me. Email us. Ask us any questions and ask us or tell us, what are you inspired about? So let's look at that. Because once we decide, once we make a statement about something, we then open ourselves up to possibility. And when we think about the inspiration revolution, what I'd like all of us to think about is what is out there that exists for all of us. I believe what is out there is possibility. There is an endless amount of possibilities. Dr. Brian Cox, who some people know, especially over in the UK, very famous professor. He's a professor in all things to do with the universe and the planet and physics and quantum physics. And in the world of quantum physics, it's just really all about one thing. What exists is space. What exists is opportunity. And that's what we have. And I know it's difficult. And I know it's challenging for all of us to look at possibilities where perhaps we're stuck in a reality where we don't have what we would like to have. We've had misfortune. We don't have the health. We don't have the resources. But if you could even just put that to one side for a few moments and open yourself up to possibility and say, this is what I'd like to do, and not be a hero just in the beginning of saying it, that's why the Pete Cohen podcast, the Inspirational Revolution, we want to be a constant force in your life, something that you can tap into. And I'm asking you, say, look, tell us. So do you want to, for example, do you want to change jobs? Do you want better health? Do you want to be more relaxed? Do you want to do a Spartan race? What's a Spartan race? Well, if you don't know, you can Google it. If you're living in the UK, we actually have a whole load of tickets for the Spartan Race that is happening on the 23rd of November at the home of rugby, Twickenham Rugby Stadium. And the reason I'm saying that is that maybe some of you who listen to this go, yeah, Pete, I want to do that. Email us if you want to do it. We'll find a way. As my dad always used to say, where there is a will, there is a way. The will is the way. The will of deciding to decide to do something amazing with your life. I personally believe you have that capability. And I know I'm going on and on and on. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Let me open the window because it's getting hot in here. You know, it's getting hot. We want to create some energy. We want to create some vitality, which will come out of people. So over the next few weeks, I'm looking forwards to hearing from you. And I'll read your name out, give you a shout out and say, hey, Sue from Sudbury or John from John O'Groats. He wants, this is what he's saying he's going to do. And then you can tell us of your progress. We want to be a force for you. We want to be something that you can tap into as you go on this journey, this epic quest called life. And a few podcasts, in a few podcasts time, we're going to do 4 podcasts around creating the movie of your life. Look, we have all got things in common. What do we have in common? We're human beings. We breathe air. We all have goals and dreams and ambitions. We all love stories. Everybody loves a story. If you put on the television or pick up a newspaper or you meet up with someone, people are telling you stories. And what is your favorite story? That's one of the things I would love you to think about between now and our next podcast. What's the favorite film of you? What is it? Is it The Matrix? Is it Harry Potter? Is it Lord of the Rings? Is it Amelie? Is it Leon? What films, what stories have touched the heart of you? Are you into adventures? Are you into horror? Are you into a rom-com? Rom-com, I think that's a romantic comedy. Are you into an adventure? And what type of movie would you like to create of your life? Where, dare I say it, you live happily ever after. And when we talk about this stuff and we think about what works, what really makes a difference. Well, one of the most famous people in the world of personal development, Dr. Stephen Covey, talks about, begin with the end in mind. And some of you maybe have heard him talk about that. Maybe you've heard me talk about it. But so what? Just because you've heard something once, does that mean you've really got it? And the people who I coach in my coaching community, we talk about this a lot. We talk about talking about stuff and not doing stuff. In fact, I filmed a video today about stress and a blog post called 10 Top Tips for Stress Busting. And I said, I wonder how many people have written top 10 tips for things. And I wonder how many times stress has been written about and how popular that's probably in the top 10 of the top 10 lists that have ever been written. And people read these things and often they'll reading something that they already know and they don't do anything. But I'm telling you, I can see an uprising of more and more people that go, I don't just want to know, I want to do. And if you're the sort of person that really wants to do, whether it is running a Spartan race, whether it is you wanting anything in your life and then deciding to go after it, then we are going to be a force to help you. How does that sound? Is anyone here inspired? Is anyone here excited? See, that's the thing. Not only do we have goals, dreams, and ambitions, not only do we breathe air, not only we are human beings, we all know how to be inspired. We all know how to look forwards for something. Whether when you were a kid, before your birthday, before Christmas Eve, you knew that you were going to be getting something, and maybe you knew what it was, but you were so inspired about it, you couldn't stop thinking about it. And now to this day, we still tap into that energy because most of us think, oh, I can't wait to get home tonight and have a glass of wine, or can't wait to the weekend because I can put my feet up for the whole weekend and binge watch something. In fact, there's a TV program called New Amsterdam on Netflix, which someone recently said, hey, go and check it out. And I'm not really into watching things too much because I just find they just take my attention away from some other things that are more important to me. But, from time to time, and I watched some of the first episode, and it was beautiful because it's this very special hospital in New York called New Amsterdam, and the guy becomes the new medical director. And everyone is expecting a medical director to be like most other medical directors they've had before, hard-hitting, trying to cut costs. And he basically comes in, he starts talking, and the first thing he says is, this is the hospital where I was born, and someone in his family passed away. And then he said, how can I help you? How can I help you? How can I help you? And I just thought, wow, that's so powerful. And that's why this person who I'd met told me to watch it, because of someone saying, how can I help you? And that's what I'm saying to you, whoever you are in the world right now. You might not know me, but you know what? I'm here for you. Maybe you do know me. I'm still here for you. What do you want? How can I help you? And, to think about that and write that down. In fact, in next week's episode, we're going to look at coaching. What is coaching and how could it help you? How can you coach yourself? I mean, ultimately, that's what you want, right? Rather than having to pay someone to coach you, you coaching you. The reality is that most people who are working towards something do need a few ingredients, and having a coach or having a mentor or just having a group of people where you're all working together. And that's one of my goals, to help you. So help you build that. And look, as we start to kind of wrap this up and you start to think about what are you going to do, what are you going to say, this quest that you're going to go on, because I'm excited to help you. I mentioned this in the previous podcast around cancer. Cancer is an area, in fact, in the news today, they're talking about how obesity now is responsible for more forms of cancer, for more forms of, people just dying. And it's like, well, is there any surprise about that? And they say 4 out of 10 cancers would be prevented by people making lifestyle changes. I felt like phoning up the radio show that this was on, because I was listening to the cricket and the news came on, and I felt like phoning them up and saying, whoa, you say 4 out of 10. Surely it should be more than that, right? That probably most illnesses are preventable by us making changes. And from the area of, I'm contacted a lot by people who have cancer because of what I've been through with my wife. And when you look at people who have managed to, dare I say, heal themselves, or for the ones who have said that they have healed themselves, they all say that they did 3 things. And this is what I want all of you to think about, because I believe we can do the same. We don't have to wait for cancer. We don't have to wait for a diagnosis. We don't have to wait for disaster to hit. We can be inspired. And that's what the 2% of people who are really inspired, they're not waiting for something bad. They see something ahead of them. And I see you ahead of me in a great place, and I'm going to be here to help you get there. So those 3 things that all of those people had in common. The first thing is they believe that there is a force outside of themselves that is also within them that they can tap into to heal themselves. That there is a force that makes their heart pump millions of times. There is a force that's going through them that gives them the ability to memorize things, that we can do all of the great things that we can do that are happening for you. You don't even need to think. They're happening at an unconscious level. And all of these people believe that there is a force outside of themselves that is in them that they can tap into if they want to. Now, I personally don't know whether that's what you believe, but I personally think. How many times have I said personally believe? Because I'm telling you what is personal to me. I think we do have an opportunity to realize there's more to life than what is just right in front of us, or more to our lives than what has happened to us. That was the first thing that they believed. The second thing they believed is they realized that the way that they'd been thinking, the way that they had been feeling had a direct response, there was a direct correlation between those two and their illness. And most of us know, I'm sure, that the way that we think can affect our health. There's numerous studies showing that this is the case, and that bad emotion can cause worry, fear, doubt, can cause unease in the body, which then can lead to disease. So these people realized that. And thirdly, they all recognized that they were going to have to reinvent themselves. They were going to have to learn to think and act in different ways, from a nutritional point of view, from an exercise point of view, and from a psychological point of view. Now, we don't have to wait for something like that to happen. We could do that now. What do you reckon? How many of you are inspired right now? Inspired enough to pick up your phone, get on your computer, send us an email, info@my365.me, and tell us, what are you inspired to do? What are you going to do? Let us know, because I will shout that out. If you've got questions around any of this, let us know, because we're on a mission. And we're on a mission that involves people just like you. I really want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Let someone who's been in this game for a long time talk to you, because I'm here for you. What's been your biggest learning? What has been your biggest takeaway? The best way to learn something is to teach it. Tell someone else or share it with someone else, and also share with us. What are you going to do? Because that's really all that we can do. The inspiration revolution is when we overthrow. A revolution is where you're basically saying no more. No more to that. It's something new. And we can reinvent ourselves. You know that, right? We could live a very long time if we reinvented ourselves with our health, our well-being. Listen, I could talk about this stuff for hours. I'm not going to. I think I've said enough. Thank you so much for listening. Let's do this. Let's be inspired. Let's breathe life into who we are, what we do, where we're going. Let us know. Let's work together, and let's build the most inspiring community in the world today. Go and get your hands on my book, Inspirators, Leading the Way and Leadership, which will help you take the lead. Not only do you get the book, you get access to a whole load of content of me coaching you about that. You can listen to other leaders and how they lead effectively as we do something amazing. We make this world a better place. Take care. Happy, beautiful day, and we'll see you soon. Oh yeah, feel free to leave us a comment on iTunes or share this. Whatever you need to do, let's get it out there. Bye-bye.